What's up? I'm Dan Random, and today I'm changing the wheel bearings on my 2001 Honda Civic. Now, most Honda Civics, I'm not sure up until what year, but they usually have drum brakes unless it's like an SI model, or I'm not sure what other submodels might have disc brakes, but it's pretty rare unless you converted everything to take disc brakes. So, honestly, the drum brakes are easier to change wheel bearings because you just need to pop off this cap here, take off the nut underneath. I'm going to use a chisel and either that hammer or this hammer, and I'll show you what it looks like in a second. So here it is, part of the way off. Now these wheel bearings don't seem that bad, but I already did the other side, and well, they were terrible. I'll show you a little bit of footage of that. So as you can see, these wheel bearings were cooked. All that grease is literally solidified in between each of the bearings, and I don't know what this stuff is that basically turned to like a wax. I guess that's part of the grease that didn't turn black, maybe? So now I have to get this piece off of here because, I mean, I pulled on this pretty gently and it just came apart. So that's not good to be driving on. But I'm not sure how to separate this. I hope I don't have to take off all the shoes, or at least one shoe, to get behind here. Well, I guess I'll figure it out. So I popped this little clip off by pressing on it with a tool and just spinning the little pin. And now I'm able to get a tool behind here, and I'm going to separate this here. The reason this is back on is because I used a pry bar to pop this off of here to move it a little more forward so I can get a tool behind here. So this was really stuck on there, so that's where it needs to separate. I was able to use the big guy here, pounding on it with my sledge, and it finally started separating. So hopefully you don't have as much trouble as I did, but I don't know if you can see. So that's how much of a lip this has, and that's where you need to separate this from here. So this is what it looks like with the cap removed, and now I can tell that this was changed not that long ago. The other side definitely hadn't been changed in a long time, but it definitely was changed once. So you can usually tell by how beat up the cap is. The other cap only had a couple slight little dents in it. This one's really hammered. So I'm gonna get my 32mm socket here, throw it on my impact, and it should come right off. Alright, nut is removed. And watch out, because a lot of really grimy, greasy dust comes out of here when you're doing this usually. So I think hopefully this will just come off now in my hand. Maybe I need two hands. Alright, so I couldn't get it with two hands, but I got it with this, with just a little slight pry. I mean, I barely had to pry, just a little doop, and it popped loose. And the back race is stuck on this side too, somehow. Alright, well, this side isn't as bad as the other side was. You can see the grease is still sort of grease. I didn't shake this around, but when I shook it when it was on there, it had a tiny little jiggle, even though it didn't have much sound when spinning it. I guess that's why, because there was some grease left in there. But alright, so now I have to do the same thing, probably, as the other side. So again, I was able to get this flimsy little ring off by, well, here. I went behind here, but, you know, around a little bit. Now, let's see if I can get this to come off without doing anything to that. So it doesn't seem like that's going to work, so I'm going to pop this off here and try to slide a tool, I guess behind this side. I don't know. I guess I'll show you what I decide in a second. Alright, so finally, with some PB Blaster, a lot of heat from a heat gun, since my torch doesn't have any juice left in it, which maybe that wouldn't have been a good idea for here anyway, because of the ABS sensor, I don't know. But anyway, that worked. So I don't know if you can see here, but it's separated a little bit now. But man, I tried everything. I was pounding, and it took a lot of cursing, and I hurt my finger underneath here. I hope it's okay. So now I'm gonna get this the rest of the way off, and I can reassemble. Okay, so that did not really work. I had to heat it up again twice and get it to move out a little bit further each time. And now I can get the thing to actually spin. You know what? Maybe I should just keep working at it and not film. But yeah, it keeps cooling off, I guess. So it was spinning. I'm going to get it the rest of the way off here, off camera. Alright, so after about an hour of heating it up and beating the crap out of it and getting a pair of vice grips around it to wiggle it and spraying more PB Blaster and beating on it more and more and more, finally I got it to a point where I was able to stick this behind somewhere. I forget how exactly I did it, but I basically, I think I just positioned it like this, and then I hammered right here. I gave it like 2 good whacks, and boom, the thing actually finally popped out of its spot. So now I'm going to clean this spindle up with some grease, let it cool down a little, and then I'm going to install the new bearing. Now that the spindle's cool, I can put the new bearing on and give it a little tap. I should probably use 2 hands. There's a little tiny nudge. It should go right on. There we go. And now to reinstall the 32mm nut. Make sure to flatten this little notch here. There we go, good. That just helps so it doesn't come loose on its own. Alright, now I'm going to clean the drum up. Now I'm going to put a tiny little bit of grease on the cap just to get rid of the corrosion. Tap that on and put the drum back on, and that's it. That's how you install wheel bearings on I guess most Hondas with drum brakes.